The beggar woman, the city of Velkar Prime, was always full of life. Lights floated in the air, alien ships moved across the sky, and the streets were busy with tall, strange creatures speaking in many tongues. In the center of it all was the galactic core market, a place where traders from 12 different alien species came to buy and sell. But on one corner of the market, something different was happening. A human woman sat on the cold, metal ground. Her clothes were torn, her hands were shaking. She was holding a small child, no older than 3. His face was pale, and his lips were dry. Her name was Lyra. She looked up at the crowd, her voice soft but full of pain. "Please, some food. Anything. My son is hungry. He has fever." But no one listened. An alien with 4 eyes passed by and said, "Filthy humans. Go back to your dirt planet." Another creature laughed, tossing a rotten fruit at her. It hit the ground next to her foot. Lyra didn't move. She just held her child closer. He was burning with fever. His breathing was weak. His small hands clutched her shirt like he knew he didn't have much time. She whispered to him, "Just hold on, Aris. Just a little longer." Many years ago, humans had been part of the galaxy. They had explored, traded, even built cities. But then something happened. A war, a betrayal. No one knew the full truth anymore. Now humans were scattered, poor, and treated worse than animals. Lyra was one of the last humans on Velkar Prime. No one cared about her. No one even looked at her. But someone was watching. In the shadow of a tall building, a figure in a dark cloak stood still. Its face was hidden, but its glowing red eyes stared directly at Lyra and her son. The figure spoke quietly into a device. "It is her. The seed has found a host." Across the market, the crowd moved like a river. Lyra looked at her child again. She touched his forehead. He was burning. Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them away. Then something strange happened. A small, round object rolled toward her. It looked like a metal ball, smooth and silver. It stopped right at her child's feet. It glowed softly with a blue light. Lyra picked it up. "What is this?" Suddenly, the orb rose into the air and floated above Aris's chest. The light became stronger, brighter. A soft hum filled the air. People nearby turned to look. The orb dropped slowly and touched Aris's skin. And then, a shock. A pulse of energy blasted out in a circle. It wasn't strong enough to hurt anyone, but it made the air crackle. The lights in the market flickered. Some alien tech shorted out. Everyone stopped. Silence fell. Aris opened his eyes, but they weren't the same. They were glowing. Softly, like stars, he looked at Lyra, and for the first time in days he spoke. "Mommy, I'm not cold anymore," Lyra gasped. She touched his face. The fever was gone. The glowing orb was now resting on his chest, like it had become part of him. The crowd began to murmur. One alien shouted, "That's ancient tech. That's the seed." A second alien backed away in fear. "It hasn't activated in 10,000 cycles." "Not since." A loud alarm rang out across the city. Guards in black armor arrived, pointing weapons. They surrounded Lyra and her son. "Step away from the child." One shouted. Lyra held Aris tightly. "No, don't touch him." From the shadows, the cloaked figure turned away and whispered into his device again. "The prophecy begins. The seed has chosen a human child." Then he disappeared into the crowd. The guards moved closer. Lyra stood up, her legs shaking, but her eyes full of fire. "You didn't help him when he was dying," she said. "You ignored us. Now you're afraid of him?" One guard moved to grab the child. The orb flashed. The ground shook. Everyone froze. Lyra whispered to her son, "It's okay, Aris. I won't let them take you." In the sky above Velkar Prime, satellites began to blink, receiving a signal they hadn't seen in 10,000 years. The seed of reversal had awakened. And it had chosen humanity. The seed, The guards were still frozen. No one moved after the shockwave. The silver orb, now glowing on the child's chest, pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. A low humming sound came from it. The air around the boy felt different, heavy, alive. Lyra stood tall, her arms wrapped around Reese. Her torn clothes danced in the strange wind blowing from the orb. Her eyes were no longer just tired, they were fierce. "Don't touch him," she warned. The guards hesitated. One of them, taller than the rest, stepped forward slowly. His voice was calm but cold. "This is beyond you, woman. That object is not yours." Lyra looked at him with disbelief. "Not mine?" It came to him. Before anyone could react, the orb flashed. Again. This time, it showed images in the air, like a dream made of light. Everyone watched. Stunned. A vision appeared. Giant ships. A bright blue earth. A war between humans and alien fleets. A shining throne. And on it, a human child. Not a Reese, but someone who looked like him. Then it vanished. The market was silent. From a nearby rooftop, the cloaked figure from before was watching everything. A soft voice spoke inside his ear through a small earpiece. "Confirm, was it the seed?" He answered calmly, "Yes, activated by a child. A human child." The voice paused. Then replied, "Impossible. Return, immediately." The figure didn't move. He just kept watching Lyra and Reese. Down below, Lyra held her son tightly. "Reese, what was that? What did they see?" The boy looked up at her. His eyes still glowed a little. He smiled faintly. "I saw before, Mommy, like old times. I was there." She knelt down. "What do you mean?" He pointed to his chest. It talks to me, like it knows me." Before Lyra could speak again, a strange noise filled the air. A soft clicking, like metal legs on stone. Everyone turned to see a tall, spider-like alien slowly stepping forward. It wore a golden robe, and its eyes shone like crystals. It was a knowledge keeper, one of the ancient watchers of the galaxy. Even the guards stepped back. The alien's voice was deep and echoing. "The seed of reversal has awakened. After 10,000 years, it has chosen again." He looked directly at Reese, and it chose. A human. Gasps spread through the market. Cameras floated in the air. News drones began recording. The alien turned toward the guards. "Stand down. Touching this child now would be an insult to the codes of time." The lead guard growled, "But he's dangerous." The alien narrowed his glowing eyes. "Yes, that is why he must be watched. But not by you." He looked at Lyra, "Human mother. You must come with me. The council must see the child." Lyra clenched her fists. "No, I don't trust any of you." The alien nodded slowly, "Then run." "But they will come. Others. Worse than these guards." Lyra looked around. Eyes were everywhere. Drones, cameras, strangers staring. The seed pulsed. Again. Then, it spoke not out loud, but in her mind. "Protect the child. He is the key." "They fear him because of what he can become," Lyra gasped. She looked at Reese. He nodded. "You heard it too?" She asked. He smiled softly. "Yes, Mommy. It talks to both of us now." The knowledge keeper backed away. "Decide quickly. If you stay, he will be taken. If you run, the galaxy will shift." Lyra didn't wait. She picked up her son and ran. Guards shouted, but the seed sent a small blast of light, blinding them for a few seconds. The crowd scattered. Lyra vanished into the maze of lower tunnels under the city. The knowledge keeper watched her leave. He opened a small communicator. "They are on the move. The prophecy is in motion." The voice on the other end was calm and cold. "Then begin phase 1 and alert the prime rulers. Tell them humanity has returned." Darkness filled the tunnel. Lyra ran, holding her son tightly. The sounds of the market above faded behind her. Her feet hit metal stairs. Her breath was loud in the silence. Only the soft blue glow of the orb on Arise's chest lit the way. "Where are we going, Mommy?" Arise asked, his voice soft. "Somewhere safe," she replied. Though she didn't know where that was, they entered the old maintenance level, a forgotten place deep under Velkar Prime. The walls were cracked. Wires hung like vines. Rats with glowing eyes watched from corners. Lyra found a small room, half filled with broken machines. She closed the rusted door behind her and finally sat down. Her hands were shaking. Arise climbed into her lap. The orb pulsed gently. "Are they still looking for us?" he asked. Lyra nodded. "Yes, but they won't find us here. Not yet." She looked at the orb again. It had become part of him now. Like it was alive. Then something happened. The orb glowed brighter. The light filled the room. And suddenly, time stopped. The dust in the air stopped moving. A small droplet of water from a leaking pipe hung in place. Even Lyra's breath froze. Everything stopped, except Arise. He stood up, his eyes glowing like stars. He looked around. Calm. Curious. He walked toward the wall and placed his hand on it. The metal began to shift, like it remembered something. Images appeared on the wall. Old human cities, space stations, battles, and a great fall. A voice echoed in the frozen air, not from the orb, but from within Arise. "I remember now." In a room high above the city, a group of powerful aliens sat around a round table. A huge screen showed the last footage from the market, the seed, the light, the escape. One alien, with a body of smoke and eyes like fire, spoke. "The child is not just a host. He is the core," another alien hissed. "That cannot be. The seed cannot merge with a mortal." But the oldest among them, a creature with silver skin, whispered, "Unless he is not truly mortal." They all fell silent, back in the tunnel. Time began to move again. Lyra gasped, confused. Ares was standing, looking at her. "Ares? What happened?" "I saw everything," he said slowly. "Not just the past. But me. I'm not just a boy anymore." He walked to her and touched her hand. She felt a warm wave move through her body, like healing. The bruises on her arms faded. Her pain was gone. "What are you?" she whispered. He looked at her with glowing eyes. "I'm still your son." But something more woke up inside me. The seed pulsed in agreement. Far across the stars, a massive ship drifted in deep space. Inside, in a dark chamber, something ancient opened its eyes. A creature wrapped in armor of black stone, chained to a wall for centuries, suddenly laughed. "The seed has returned." Its chains cracked. "Reversal is near." A voice from the shadows spoke. "Then we must kill the child before he awakens fully." Back in the tunnels, Lyra packed quickly. They had to keep moving. But now Arise didn't seem weak anymore. He moved with strange calm. Machines around him turned on without touch. Lights followed him. "What's happening to me, Mommy?" he asked. "I don't know," she said. "But I think the seed chose you for a reason." Arise looked down at the orb. "I don't think it's just a machine. Then what is it?" He looked into her eyes. "I think it's a memory." As they moved deeper into the tunnels, they didn't know that above them, in the skies of Velkar Prime, dozens of ships had already launched. Hunters were coming, some for gold, some for power, some for fear, but they all wanted one thing, the boy. And the galaxy was starting to remember something it had tried to forget. Humans were never weak. They were just asleep. The ship was old. Very old. Its engines made no sound. Its body was covered in rust and marks from forgotten wars. It floated like a ghost through the dark sky of Velkar Prime. Inside, Lyra sat quietly, holding her son. The room was dim. Arise was sleeping in her arms. the blue light of the seed glowing softly from his chest. She looked out the window. Stars. Silence. For the first time in days, she could breathe. Across from her sat a strange man. He had silver hair, golden eyes, and skin that looked more like stone than flesh. His name was Kale. He wasn't human, but he wasn't fully alien either. Kale spoke in a calm voice. You want the truth, don't you? Lyra nodded. I need to know why they want my son. Kale looked at the child. That's not your son anymore, he said. Not only your son, Lyra's voice trembled. He's still my boy. Kale nodded gently. Yes, but he is also something the galaxy hasn't seen in 10,000 years. Then, Kale stood up. He placed his hand on a wall. A hidden door opened, revealing a round chamber filled with light crystals. In the center was a sphere, floating, glowing with old code, showing fragments of history. Kale waved his hand. Images appeared in the air. Great human cities floating in space. Golden towers on Earth. Humans walking beside aliens as leaders, not beggars. And then, flames. A great war. Entire planets burning, and a voice whispering, erase them. Lyra stepped back. Her mouth was dry. This is our history? Kale turned to her. Humans were once rulers of light, masters of energy, time and thought, but they grew too fast, too powerful. Who destroyed us? She asked. Kale's eyes darkened. No one speaks their name anymore, but they were afraid. They couldn't control humanity. So they did what all rulers do when afraid. Lyra whispered. They erased us. Kale nodded. He walked to Aris and knelt down. The boy had just opened his eyes. He wasn't surprised by the glowing images around him. Kale spoke softly. You remember, don't you? Aris blinked slowly. Not all, just feelings, dreams, like I've been here before. Like I've lived other lives. Kale smiled. You have. Outside the ship, a stealth probe flew through space, watching them from far away. Inside, a voice sent a signal back to its masters. Subject confirmed. The child is awakening. Send the erasers. Back in the ship, Kale pressed a small crystal. A new vision appeared. A hidden room, buried deep under the old Earth, where a group of human scientists argued. One woman said, we can't win this war, but we can make sure we come back. She placed a glowing orb into a cryopod. The seed will hold the memory of us all. One day, it will choose someone strong enough to remember. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. So Aris isn't just my child. He's carrying our entire history. Kale nodded. Not just history. He carries our last chance. Aris stood up, still calm. What do I have to do? He asked. Kale looked at him with respect. You must survive. That is enough for now. The seed will guide you. Aris looked at his mother. Will you come with me, Mommy? She knelt down and held his face. Always. But Kale's voice became serious. There's something else you must know. He opened a final vision. This time it showed the galaxy now. Hundreds of alien leaders in secret meetings. Armies preparing. Bounty hunters gathering. And one image that chilled Lyra to her bones. A black figure made of smoke and metal, with eyes like fire, watching Aris. Kale whispered, that is the one who destroyed us before, and he knows the seed is awake. Aris looked at the image. I'm not afraid of him, Kale nodded. You will be, but not yet. You're not ready. Suddenly, alarms rang through the ship. Kale stood up quickly. They found us. Lyra grabbed Aris. What do we do? Kale opened the panel. There's an escape pod. It will take you to Earth. Earth? It's a ruin, Lyra said. Kale looked back. No, Earth is sleeping. Just like the seed was. Go, wake it up. Lyra and Aris climbed into the pod. Kale placed his hand on the glass. You are the last hope of our kind. Protect him. Teach him. And when the time comes, let him remember everything. The pod launched. As they flew into space, the seed pulsed. Brighter than ever before, and for the first time in 10,000 years, Earth felt the call of its children. The stars were quiet, but in the silence, the hunt had begun. Across the galaxy, hundreds of signals blinked in red dot bounties, warnings, coordinates, on every bounty board in every dark corner of space. One face appeared. Target: human child, unconfirmed heir of the seed. Dead or alive reward: 900 million Christ status. Level Z threat last seen. Escaping Kales. Ship near Velkar Prime. They weren't just chasing a child now. They were chasing a symbol, and they were afraid of what he could become. Aboard the escape pod, Lyra held Aris close. The pod was small, cold, silent. They moved through hyperspace like a bullet in the dark. Stars stretched into white lines outside the window. The seed on Aris's chest glowed dimly, asleep, but always there. "Where are we going?" Aris asked. "Home," Lyra said. "To Earth." Aris tilted his head. "Have I been there before?" Lyra looked away. Yes and no. The seed pulsed once. A soft hum filled the pod. Then a strange map appeared in front of them, not physical, but floating in the air like a memory. A path. Aris pointed at it. "It's showing us the way. Elsewhere." In the black sector on a broken moon filled with old ships, a group of bounty hunters stood in a circle. They were not ordinary killers. One had a robotic face and eyes that saw into time. One was made of living knives. One spoke only through the dead. Their leader, a tall creature in black armor, raised a device showing Aris's face. He growled. "The last human child, carrying the seed? That's a joke." Another hunter hissed. "Kale was protecting him. That means it's real." The leader crushed the device in his hand. "Then we kill the boy fast, before he remembers what he is." Meanwhile, the escape pod dropped out of hyperspace near an empty system. Dead stars. Quiet planets. But Earth floated ahead. It looked like a forgotten jewel, covered in clouds, scarred with silence. Lyra stared at it. So much pain, so much lost. "Aris whispered, "but it's waiting." They entered the atmosphere, on the other side of the system. A dark ship, uncloaked. No lights. No sound. Just hunger. Inside. The hunters locked onto the pod's trail. They smiled. "The seed runs," one whispered. "Let's break it." Back on Earth, the pod landed in what was once a city, now swallowed by nature. Old buildings lay half-buried. Vines crawled across broken towers. Machines sat like sleeping animals in the dirt. Lyra and Aris stepped out. The seed pulsed. Ground beneath them responded. Lights flickered on. Old tech hummed. Screens that hadn't worked in centuries blinked with words. "Welcome back. Human code 147. Lyra Greychild identified. Reclamation key. Active. The awakening begins." Lyra stepped back. "What is this place?" Aris walked forward, drawn by something deeper than memory. He stood on a stone platform. The seed flashed once, and the entire city woke up. But far above, the hunter's ship entered Earth's orbit. One looked down. "It's happening. The seed is connecting to the old systems. If we don't stop it now." The leader gave a single command. "Burn the sky." Back on the surface, Lyra grabbed Aris's hand. "We have to hide." But Aris wasn't afraid. The seed was now glowing like a star. He turned to her and said, "I can feel something here, under the ground." He knelt down, placing his hand on the stone. It cracked. From below, a massive shape began to rise, an ancient human defense unit, hidden for centuries. Not a weapon, but a guardian. It knelt before Aris. Lyra gasped. "It knows you." Aris's voice was calm, steady. "No, it remembers me." Above them, the sky turned black. Flames, missiles. The hunters were here, and Aris finally opened his eyes wide. The seed responded. Light burst from his chest, reaching into the clouds, stopping the fire mid-air. Inside the Black Hunter ship. Systems failed. Weapons froze. One hunter screamed, "What is he?" Their leader stared at the light and whispered, "He's not the seed's host. He's the seed's source." Earth was no longer silent. It was waking up, and it was angry. For a long time, Earth had been quiet. Her skies were empty. Her oceans still. Her voice silenced. But now something had changed. A signal had been sent. A single pulse, born from a child. Carried by the seed. Heard by the forgotten. In a mine station on a desert moon. An old man, covered in dirt, lifted his head. He was human, skin burned by sun. Hands broken from years of work. A small screen on the wall flashed red. Signal detected. Origin, Earth, reclaimer identified. He dropped his tool. Others looked up. One whispered, "That language. It's old core code." The old man smiled through tears. "We're going home." In a slave ship above Cora 7. Children. Worked in silence, locked inside metal cages. A girl, no older than a Reese, stared at the stars through a tiny window. Then she gasped. Her eyes glowed softly. Just for a second, the guard noticed. "Hey, what's wrong with you?" The girl stood up slowly. She didn't know why, but she whispered, "He's awake." And the metal lock on her cage clicked open, without a key. Meanwhile, on Earth, the defense unit Reese awakened stood like a giant guardian over the broken city. Its eyes glowed blue. Its chest opened, revealing a control core written in ancient human code. Reese walked forward. Lyra tried to stop him. "Reese, wait." But the machines around them weren't afraid. They were welcoming him. Screens lit up everywhere. Voice recognized. Reclaimer confirmed. Human protocol restored. All systems reactivating. Lyra stared in disbelief. This city. This isn't just ruins. It's an ark. Reese looked at her. Not just an ark, Mommy. A memory. Above Earth. The bounty hunters panicked. Their missiles had failed. Their weapons didn't respond. One hunter shouted, "It's the Earth systems. They're waking up." The leader snarled, "Retreat!" But they were too late. From Earth's surface, 12 human defense satellites rose like silent ghosts from underground. Vaults. Their lights flickered on, red at first, then blue. One spoke in a voice that hadn't been heard in 10,000 years. Defense grid, active. Unrecognized vessels. Targeted. Fire authorization. Confirmed. The sky exploded. The hunter ships vanished in flames. The planet was defending its own, back on the ground. Lyra touched one of the glowing terminals. It showed something shocking. Thousands of human survivors across the galaxy, hiding, scattered, enslaved. And now, responding, they were waking up. Some were changing. Some, like Reese, had begun to remember things they were never taught. Old language, ancient skills, even commands that machines obeyed without question. Reese stood in the center of it all, calm, glowing, quiet. He looked up at the sky. "They're coming." "Who?" Lyra asked. He turned to her. "Everyone. Across the galaxy." Humans who had hidden for centuries stepped out of caves, mines, prison worlds, research labs. And they all heard the same message, not with ears, but inside their minds. "Rise, you are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are human." Some cried, some laughed, some screamed. But all of them, everyone started to move. Meanwhile, deep in dark space, a chamber lit only by fire sat silent. At its center, chained to a throne of bones, was the one who erased humanity. His eyes opened. He felt the signal. He felt the light. He felt fear. A voice behind him whispered, "They're returning." He stood, breaking his chains. "Then we end them, for good this time." He raised his hand. From across 1,000 systems, machines of war began to rise. Alien armies prepared. Ships were called, because they knew This time the humans would fight back. Back on Earth, Ares stood on the highest platform of the city. Winds moved around him. Machines hummed softly. Lights danced on the horizon. Ships, human ships. Returning, he looked at his mother. She took his hand. No matter what happens, she said, we face it together. Ares nodded. His voice was calm. But we're not alone anymore. And in the sky above them, a new human fleet blinked into orbit. Ships that hadn't flown in thousands of years, now answering the call of the seed. The galaxy had slept for too long. Now humanity was rising. And this time, they remembered everything. A storm was coming, not of rain, but of fire, of memory, of return. Across the stars, armies moved like shadows. Ships like knives cut through the black. Thousands of alien systems prepared for war, but they were already too late, because the signal had been sent, and humanity had awakened. Above Earth, the sky was full. Old human warships, long hidden, long broken, now floated in silence above the blue planet. They had answered the seed's call. Some had no crew, but they moved, powered by something else. Ares. He stood in the rebuilt command chamber of Earth's core tower, surrounded by light. Machines listened when he breathed. Doors opened when he thought. He was still just a boy, but inside him lived 1,000 voices, 1,000 lives, 1,000 forgotten dreams. In the council hall of the galactic rulers, panic. 12 species sat in silence as images played before them. Earth reactivating, human ships forming, reclaimers rising from forgotten worlds. One alien slammed a fist. We buried them. Another whispered, no, we only closed our eyes. Then, a voice echoed across the chamber, not from a speaker, not from a transmission, from inside their minds. It was Ares. His voice was soft, but it shook their bones. You looked down on us, you erased our names, you called us weak. But we survived, in chains, in shadows, in silence. Now, you will hear us. Now, you will remember. Back on Earth, Lyra watched her son from the edge of the room. He stood still, his eyes glowing. The seed floated above him, spinning like a galaxy. A massive dish rose from the Earth. Once a forgotten satellite system, now a beacon. Every screen in the galaxy turned on. Every ship stopped mid-flight. Every species, every ruler, every child heard the same voice. We are human. We do not rule by fear. We do not forget pain. But we rise, always. You feared us once. Then you erased us. Now we return, not for revenge, but for balance. If you stand in peace, we welcome you. If you raise your weapons, we will remember how to fight. Far across the stars, on hundreds of planets, humans who had lived in fear stepped into the light. Some lifted weapons, some lifted hands, all lifted their heads. The shame was gone. They had heard the message. They were not broken anymore. In a dark chamber, the ancient enemy of humanity, the one who had burned their cities, erased their names, stood before a mirror of black glass. He saw the child. He saw the seed. He saw Earth, no longer silent, and he knew. I ended them once. He drew his sword. I will end them again. Back in orbit, human ships received final orders from Ares, but he didn't speak them aloud. The seed linked them all, not just the ships. The people. For the first time in 10,000 years, humanity was one mind again, not slaves, not soldiers, not survivors, but a force, and they moved not with hate, but with purpose. In the final room, Lyra stepped beside Ares. She knelt down, brushing his hair back. You're not just my son anymore, are you? He looked at her quietly. I am always your son, but I am all of them now. She smiled, though her eyes filled with tears. Then go, and remind the stars who we are, in the sky. The final fleet appeared. Alien warships. Endless. But Ares did not flinch. He raised one hand, and the Earth answered. So did Mars, and Titan, and the moons of forgotten colonies. Old weapons powered by ancient codes came back online. They did not fire first, but they were ready. And in that last moment, as silence fell across space, a message older than any war blinked once more on every screen. Humanity was never gone. It was just waiting.